Let's start with a thought that's almost guaranteed to annoy a lot of people, but that doesn't make it any less true. Under no circumstances would Boruto have ever been able to surpass Naruto in Sage Mode if it weren't for Momoshiki and the power he gave him. Whether you like it or not, it's Momoshiki who made Boruto into the person he is now. And you know what the biggest irony is? This whole time we hated Momoshiki, seeing him as a parasite who ruined the hero's life, but without Momoshiki, Boruto would have been a boring main character. A lot of people got used to thinking that Boruto is cheating by using the power of karma. But it's not cheating, it's evolution. We're used to feeling sorry for Boruto, but it's time to admit something. Momoshiki isn't a curse. He's the greatest gift fate could have given him, the thing that turned Boruto into a perfect being. Do you still think karma is a prison? Today we're going to break down why the resonance with Kawaki disappeared and why it won't happen in Chapter 30 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. How does Momoshiki's Byakugan turn Boruto into a living supercomputer? And what terrifying price is waiting for him ahead? I promise, after this analysis, you'll look at the latest chapters of 2 Blue Vortex in a completely different way. Before we dive deeper, I want to share something special with you guys. My birthday is coming up soon. It would honestly mean the world to me if we could hit 10,000 subscribers on the channel over the next 5 months. I'm working hard to put out videos almost every single day, and the best gift I could ever ask for is your subscription and a like. I know it's a big, bold goal, but I truly believe we can get there if we do it together. Now, let's get into the heart of this interesting topic. Let's be honest. In the original Naruto, the Byakugan was often overshadowed by the Sharingan. We got used to seeing it as just an X-ray vision ability that helps you see chakra pathways and spot enemies in the forest. But when we're talking about the Otsutsuki Byakugan, and especially Momoshiki's Byakugan, the scale becomes planetary. Remember how amazed we were when Hinata could see 20 kilometers away? Back then, that felt like the limit. But for Boruto, who now carries Momoshiki's data, that's just a warm-up. Kaguya Otsutsuki used her Byakugan to keep the entire planet under control. And right now, Boruto is standing on the threshold of that level. Just imagine, Boruto doesn't need to search for an enemy. He simply sees them, no matter where they are. In the latest chapters of 2 Blue Vortex, we see Boruto navigating space with an almost frightening level of precision. His zoom doesn't just let him see far, it lets him pick up the smallest fluctuations of chakra from dozens of miles away. But vision is only half of it. The real advantage is how Boruto combines this visual range with his Otsutsuki-level sensory perception. Momoshiki was once able to locate Naruto and Killer Bee just by scanning the world. Boruto has inherited that same ability. I think it's going to become almost impossible to land a clean hit on Boruto when his eye is active. Remember the moment when Momoshiki took control of Boruto's body during the fight against Kawaki? Even Kawaki, who possessed Ishiki's power, struggled to land precise blows. Every attack cost him effort, and things only shifted once Boruto's own consciousness began resisting and disrupting the process. The Byakugan gives Boruto perfect evasion. It's not just 359-degree vision, it's instant processing of attack vectors. Boruto becomes an untouchable sensor who can react even before the enemy fully commits to the attack. We've already seen how skillfully he uses a sword in 2 Blue Vortex. His 360-degree spin attack against a group of enemies isn't just a flashy move. With the Byakugan, he no longer has anything resembling a blind spot. Every motion of his blade can be calculated down to the millimeter, because he sees the battlefield as clearly as if it were sitting in the palm of his hand. His close-quarters combat efficiency becomes absolute. If Neji needed to spin to create a defensive dome, Boruto can simply stand still and deliver pinpoint strikes because he knows where every single particle of dust is within a kilometer radius. A lot of people ask, when did Boruto even have time to learn all this? The answer is simple, and at the same time, a little frightening. Boruto didn't learn it at all. In the Hyuga clan, people spend years mastering the Byakugan, but karma is a compressed archive of data. When Boruto activates his eye, he isn't just opening his eyelid, he's connecting to Momoshiki's thousands of years of combat experience. It's like downloading martial arts skills directly into your brain, just like in the Matrix. Boruto automatically gains the muscle memory of a god. All those battles Momoshiki fought for millennia while destroying worlds now belong to Boruto. This tactical advantage is impossible to overstate. He sees chakra flows, instantly distinguishes the original body from a shadow clone, and recognizes genjutsu before it even has a chance to affect his mind. In the manga, the Byakugan has become a key tool for identifying those tiny gaps in an enemy's defense that the human eye could never detect. And now let's move on to one of the biggest mysteries of the recent chapters. In chapter 29, something strange happens. Boruto activates his karma, his Byakugan appears, and that signature Otsutsuki aura radiates from him. He's practically broadcasting pure power. But Kawaki's karma doesn't react at all, even though they're fairly close to each other. Why did the resonance, which used to be one of the unbreakable rules of the universe, suddenly disappear? Even at the beginning of Two Blue Vortex, it was still happening, and Boruto was sometimes forced to leave the village and fly to his hideout because of it. But now, even though they're both in the same village, nothing happens. I think Boruto has shifted onto a new frequency in how his power operates. Reason 1. In the past, karma was a battlefield. Momoshiki was trying to push Boruto out, and Boruto was resisting. Those interference waves were exactly what Kawaki was detecting as resonance. But by chapter 30 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, the situation has changed. It's no longer a battlefield. In 2 Blue Vortex, we see that they've reached a strange, unsettling level of cooperation. Momoshiki is willingly giving Boruto his power. This harmonious fusion of chakra created a brand new vibration frequency in his mark. Kawaki's karma simply doesn't recognize this signal anymore. To it, Boruto is no longer a typical Otsutsuki vessel. In the usual sense, he has become something different. Reason 2. There's also a more technical explanation. Resonance speeds up data extraction. But what if Ishiki's data in Kawaki's body has already been fully extracted 100% complete? Amado may have modified the process so that once the unpacking is finished, karma stops searching for external triggers. Kawaki has already reached his ceiling, his absolute peak. Meanwhile, Boruto, thanks to his human will and his training under Sasuke, continues to grow and push his limits. And like I mentioned in the previous video, right now Boruto is still slightly weaker than Kawaki. Reason 3. Have you noticed that in the manga, we've actually seen Kawaki trigger Boruto's karma resonance more often than the other way around? There's a theory that Amado intentionally built this function into the system as a control mechanism for Ishiki, so he could wake up Boruto's vessel whenever he needed. But now that Boruto has learned how to conceal his chakra and control karma on a completely different level, he's simply turned off that feature. Boruto has reached such a high level of power that Kawaki can't even sense his activation anymore. Let's break down what exactly Boruto gains from Momoshiki in chapter 30 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. I like to call it the 4 pillars of divinity. 1. Danger sense. This isn't the Sharingan, which reads muscle movement. It's something deeper, the ability to feel a threat within the very fabric of reality itself. Back in chapter 79, when Mitsuki attacked from underground, Boruto jumped a second before the strike landed because Momoshiki whispered to him, "Jump." It's almost like Deku's danger sense in My Hero Academia, or Urashiki's precognition. Boruto is starting to see the world 2 steps ahead. 2. Extreme focus and perfect flying Raijin. We've already seen that Boruto mastered the flying Raijin, but he admitted himself that he doesn't have his grandfather's natural talent, and that his version of the technique is modified. He still needs time to focus on the seal, but imagine what happens when he activates karma. Momoshiki is a master of spatial manipulation. With his help, Boruto can instantly track coordinates anywhere across dimensions. Karma becomes the booster that makes his flying Raijin faster and more precise than even the 4th Hokage's. 3. Glimpses of the future. Momoshiki's Byakugan is unique. It can see fragments of what's yet to come. It's not full omniscience, more like flashes of what might happen. Momoshiki already saw the blue eyes that will take everything from you. Now Boruto is beginning to share that vision. If he learns to control this ability, he'll be able to change the course of history in real time. Unlike Kashin Koji, who watches possible scenarios as an observer, Boruto exists inside those scenarios and he can strike directly at fate. 4. Massive shadow cloning. A lot of people wondered why, at the beginning of 2 Blue Vortex, Boruto barely used shadow clones. I think it was because of chakra exhaustion. It weakened his control, making it easier for Momoshiki to take over his body. But now that they've reached some form of understanding, or at least a temporary ceasefire, Boruto gains access to colossal Otsutsuki-level chakra reserves. Now he can create an entire army of clones, and each one carries a share of Momoshiki's sensory abilities: Byakugan, Flying Raijin, and even Flight. Just imagine 100 Borutos, each capable of using powers like that. This brings us to the most emotional point in our analysis. Momoshiki is a fatalist. He believes destiny can't be changed. He looked into Naruto's future and predicted that Kurama's power wouldn't be passed on to the next generation, and he was wrong. We saw Himawari and her connection to Kurama. That proves Otsutsuki visions aren't a final sentence, they're only one possible outcome. Momoshiki may have foreseen Kurama's death in the fight with his Shiki, but he didn't account for the human soul or for the way chakra can be reborn through DNA. Boruto doesn't want to see the future in order to give up, he wants to see it so he can protect Himawari. His main goal is to learn the details of her possible death so he can rewrite that chapter. He's willing to make a deal with Momoshiki to make sure that any sacrifice he makes won't be in vain. I think Boruto is prepared to give his body to Momoshiki in the finale if that's the only way to save the world, but first he wants to peek into the future to make sure Kawaki will truly be able to kill him. He's searching for confirmation of his own death for the sake of others. It's incredibly tragic and incredibly selfless. Now buckle up, because we're stepping into future theory territory. I'm sure we're heading toward a new Boruto form that I call absolute karma. Unlike Naruto and Kurama, who eventually became true partners, Momoshiki will never sacrifice himself for Boruto. He's far too self-centered, so their ultimate technique won't be based on friendship, it'll be a parasitic transformation. In a critical moment, when Jura's forces push them to the brink, Boruto will activate a mode where the fuel isn't chakra, it's his own memories and his soul. Momoshiki will burn away Boruto's identity second by second just to maintain divine power. That is the real meaning of losing everything. Boruto may defeat his enemies, but by the end of the battle, he might forget who Sarada is, who Naruto is, and why he even fought in the first place. He becomes an empty shell, the perfect vessel for Momoshiki. And right at that breaking point, in the moment of unbearable pain, on the edge of losing himself and his sister, the Jogan awakens. I believe the Jogan is the very eye of Shibai Otsutsuki, and it's not just an evolution of the Byakugan. It's a tool that can hack the logic of the universe itself. If Momoshiki represents cold calculation and intellect, then the Jogan is vision powered by human emotion. Every time Boruto has used the Jogan, it was triggered by emotion, and that's the key. It allows him to see the one path to victory that Momoshiki's supercomputer mind can't. We also can't forget Himawari. If Boruto walks the path of the Otsutsuki, then Himawari represents the legacy of Asura and Hagoromo. Her strength comes from harmony and love. To beings like Jura who try to understand the world through logic and consumption, Himawari becomes a virus. She shows them that creation and protecting bonds are stronger than absorbing chakra and devouring worlds. The entire story of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex comes down to a clash between two systems. Cold intellect and calculation, Momoshiki, Kawaki, the Shinju versus human empathy, and will Himawari, Boruto, Sarada, and Mitsuki. Boruto stands right at the center of that storm. He uses the tools of gods to protect what makes us human. His karma isn't just a mark, it's armor he's chosen to wear in order to walk into hell and come back out victorious. Friends, we've broken down how the Byakugan turns Boruto into a perfectly balanced fighter, why his karma no longer resonates with Kawaki, and the terrifying price he pays for every step he takes with this power. Boruto is the most complex and layered character in the entire franchise, and his path is only getting darker from here. But now I really want to hear what you think. Do you believe Boruto will be able to hold on to his identity? Or will Momoshiki eventually get what he wants and turn him into an empty shell? And the biggest question of all, do you still believe Kawaki can come back to the light? Share your wildest theories in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive analysis, don't forget to hit like and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Subscribe right now so you don't miss the next breakdown. See you in the next video.